We often hear that poverty is a result of personal choices, but what if I told you that's not the whole story? How is it that in a world so advanced, so many are left behind financially? What are the mechanisms at play here? It's about time we pulled back the curtain and exposed these hidden forces. You see, society itself programs us to stay poor. Think about it, from the education we receive, the policies in place, to the subtle messages in our media. Everything is designed to keep us in a cycle of debt and dependency. The whole deck is stacked against us, and we're playing a game that's rigged to favor the wealthy. I'm Will, and I teach people about investing, personal finance, and money. I've walked the path you seek, and today I have several businesses and investments that provide me income every single month, meaning I never have to work another day in my life. If you plan on becoming financially free, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you find this video valuable. In this video, I am going to talk about the ways society programs people to be poor. And no, this isn't about pointing fingers at individuals for their financial hardships. Instead, it's about uncovering the less obvious ways our society could be steering us towards financial struggles, almost a hidden script that's been written for us without our consent. So let's uncover the truth and start with the first way society is programming us to stay poor: our social structure. It's a big concept, but stick with me here. Did you know that about 13.5% of Americans live in poverty? That's a huge number, right? Many of these folks don't have insurance, and despite efforts to help them through Medicaid or private insurance, there's been a lot of pushback. Here's where it gets interesting. 4 states recently wanted to make Medicaid recipients who aren't disabled or elderly work for their benefits. This move kind of shows a belief that's pretty common in our society, that poverty is mostly due to laziness or irresponsibility. But let me tell you, that's not really the full picture. Poverty and other social struggles often come down to something called social structure. This is all about how our society works on a big scale. We've got some deep-rooted issues like racism, sexism, and segregation that create unequal opportunities in education, jobs, and income, especially for marginalized groups. Imagine it like a race where the majority group has a head start, while others face hurdles every step of the way. That's what we're dealing with here. These structural barriers make it incredibly tough for some people to get ahead, no matter how hard they try. It's not just about an individual effort. It's about the uneven playing field they're on from the start. This is what we mean by structural causes of poverty and inequality. It's a complex issue, but understanding it is the first step towards making things better. Next is education's role in poverty. Education, when we think about it, plays a huge role in poverty, much more than we often realize. It's like a two-edged sword. On one hand, getting a good education can open doors to better jobs, high earnings, and a more stable life. But here's the catch. Not everyone gets the same shot at quality education. Imagine 2 kids, one from a well-off neighborhood and the other from a poorer area. The first kid probably goes to a school with lots of resources, great teachers, and plenty of opportunities. The second kid, however, might be in a school that's struggling with fewer resources and support. This difference in their education can set them on very different paths in life. And it's not just about getting any education. The world today needs specific skills, especially with all the tech and changes in the job market. If you don't have the right education or training, you might be stuck in low-paying, unstable jobs, no matter how hard you work. Then there's the issue of education debt, especially in places like the U.S. College can be a ticket to a better life, but it can also leave you with a ton of debt. This debt can weigh you down for years, making it tougher to get ahead financially. Moving on to the next way society might be inadvertently programming us for poverty. Let's tackle a big myth. Poverty is just a state of mind. You've probably heard it before. The idea that if the poor and minorities just made better choices, like working hard, staying in school, getting married, and not having kids until they can afford them, they wouldn't be poor. It sounds straightforward, but it's not really that simple. A little while back, Housing Secretary Ben Carson called poverty a state of mind. Interestingly, this comment came around the same time his department's budget for helping low-income households was facing a cut of over $6 billion. This situation perfectly illustrates the oversimplification of a really complex social issue. You see, reducing poverty to just a mindset minimizes the impact of larger societal structures. We're talking about big-picture stuff here, like how the job market is set up and societal conditions that affect how people behave. It's not just about individual choices. There's a whole field of sociological research that backs this up, showing how deep and complicated these issues are. By framing poverty as merely a state of mind, we're overlooking the real tangible barriers that people face every day. It's like saying, just think positively and you won't be poor, which ignores the realities of systemic issues and inequalities. This kind of thinking doesn't just miss the mark, it oversimplifies the struggles many people face and shifts the focus away from the need for broader societal changes. Smash that like button if you're enjoying this video. All right, let's dive into the next way society could be nudging us towards poverty, and it's all about the value of independence in American culture. You see, Americans, more than many other cultures, really prize their independence. It's a core part of the national identity. In the U.S., there's a strong tendency to see people in terms of their personal attributes, like their choices, abilities, values, and decisions. This is quite different from interdependent cultures. Think of some Eastern Asian countries where people are often viewed in the context of their environment, relationships, and social roles. Now here's the thing with this independent mindset. It can lead to overlooking the historical and environmental factors that play a huge role in people's lives. We're talking about significant issues like slavery, segregation, and gender discrimination. These aren't just chapters in a history book. They've had long-lasting effects on society and continue to impact people today. When we focus solely on individual attributes and ignore this historical context, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that if someone is poor, it's entirely due to their personal choices or abilities. This perspective overlooks the systemic barriers that many people face, effectively erasing the bigger picture. By attributing poverty to personal failings rather than acknowledging these larger issues, we're missing a critical part of the story. It's essential to recognize that while personal responsibility is important, it's not the only factor at play. The broader social and historical context can't be ignored if we want to truly understand and address poverty. Lastly, politics. In America, there's a strong tendency to view poverty as an individual issue. A lot of people think that if someone is poor, it's mostly their own fault. But there's another side to this, the idea that poverty is a structural phenomenon. From this angle, people are poor not just because of their personal choices, but because they're caught in parts of the economic system that just doesn't provide enough income. The reality of poverty is more dynamic than most of us realize. Research shows that people often move in and out of poverty. For instance, studies have found that 45% of poverty lasts no more than a year, 70% end within 3 years, and only about 12% last over a decade. This shows that poverty isn't always a permanent state, but can be a temporary phase in someone's life. Take the panel study of income dynamics, PSID, a long-term study of 18,000 Americans. This study revealed that about 4 in 10 adults experience a year of poverty between the ages of 25 to 60. Similarly, the Survey of Income and Program Participation, SIPP, by the U.S. Census found that around 1/3 of Americans face episodic poverty at some point over a 3-year period, but only 3.5% are in this situation for all 3 years. These statistics challenge the idea that poverty is solely due to personal failings. They point to a more nuanced understanding, where poverty can be a temporary condition influenced by a variety of factors, including the structure of the economy and the availability of opportunities. It's important to understand this complexity, rather than oversimplifying poverty as just a result of individual choices. So what do you think? I'm really eager to hear your thoughts, so please don't hold back in the comments section. Your perspective means a lot. A big thank you for spending your time with me today. It's conversations like these that can really open our eyes to different aspects of society and how they affect us all. If you plan to get ahead in life and break society's chokehold on your financial future, check out this video on 6 millionaire habits that will change your life forever.